Listen closely, because this message isn't for everyone. This is for the one who feels a strange stillness after the storm. This is for the one who's walked through fire and didn't burn. If your spirit has been restless, if you've been feeling like something invisible but powerful has shifted in your life, then you're exactly who this message is meant for. You are the chosen one, and whether you fully understand it yet or not, you've passed the divine test. You were never meant to live a normal life. You were never created to blend in, to fit neatly into a broken system, or to be accepted by the masses. No. From the very beginning, your soul carried a frequency that this world didn't know how to handle. That's why you were misunderstood. That's why you were rejected even by those who claimed to love you. That's why people turned cold when all you did was offer warmth. But what they didn't realize, what they couldn't comprehend, was that your pain was never pointless. It was sacred, a divine preparation for something they couldn't see coming. You've walked through silence, through shadows. You've endured long nights of the soul, wondering if anyone could truly see the battles you were fighting behind closed doors. People looked at you and saw strength, but they had no idea that strength was forged in the depths of heartbreak. You kept showing up when you felt like giving up. You kept loving when you had every reason to shut down. You stayed kind in a world that tried to turn you bitter. That is not weakness. That is divine resilience. And now something extraordinary is happening. Heaven has taken notice. The Most High watched every tear, every betrayal, every time you stood in faith when the evidence around you told you to give up. You were being tested, not by people, not by life, but by God Himself. This test was never about punishment, it was about positioning. And now that the test is complete, now that your spirit has held firm through the winds of adversity, the tables are about to turn. Those who doubted you, feel it. Those who mocked you behind your back, sense it. They don't know what it is exactly, but they feel the weight of something shifting. It's your anointing. It's your breakthrough. It's the spiritual crown that's now resting on your head. They're terrified, not because you seek revenge, but because they know what you carry now is unstoppable. Divine favor, prophetic vision, unshakable clarity. These things can't be manufactured. They're earned in the sacred shadows where no one claps for you, where the applause is absent and only God is your witness. And now the silence is breaking. You feel it in your bones. The old season is dead. The people who tried to bury you didn't know you were a seed. They thought the isolation would break you. They thought the gossip would destroy you. But it only pushed you deeper into the arms of the divine. It made your roots grow. And now you're rising. Quietly, powerfully, authentically. Not to prove anything, but because it's time. You passed the test, the divine test. The one that stripped you of everything you thought you needed so that you could discover who you truly are. There's a holiness that lives inside of you now. It glows through your eyes. It moves through your words. You've become a vessel of wisdom, of light, of purpose, and you're dangerous to the darkness. See, when you were asleep to your calling, the enemy was comfortable. When you were still seeking validation, still trying to please people who would never love you correctly, you were no threat. But now you walk in truth. Now you've awakened to who you are, and the forces that once tried to manipulate you, control you, bind you in shame, they've lost their grip. That's why they're afraid, not because you're angry, but because you're free. And a free chosen one is the enemy's worst nightmare. But listen, this isn't about ego. This isn't about arrogance. This is about alignment. You didn't climb out of hell to become proud. You climbed out to become pure, to become purpose-driven, to become what you were always meant to be, a reflection of the divine in a world that's forgotten its soul. You're not here to impress. You're here to impact. You're not here to take sides. You're here to raise frequencies. You're not here to be loud. You're here to be loud in spirit, bold in light, unwavering in truth. And that scares them, because you carry a power that doesn't come from this world. It comes from beyond the veil. from the Spirit, from God. That's why people try to figure you out, but never can. That's why some are drawn to your light, while others instinctively attack you. They don't know why they react to you the way they do, but their spirit does. Your very presence activates something in others. For some, it awakens healing. For others, it exposes hidden darkness, and that's not your fault. That's your assignment. So don't shrink. Don't go back to hiding who you are just to keep others comfortable. That season is over. This is your emergence. This is your revealing. The world is about to see what God already knows about you, that you are not ordinary. You are chosen, and your time has come. They thought you were weak because you didn't fight back the way they expected. You didn't throw stones. You didn't scream for justice. You didn't match their hatred with hatred. But what they never understood, what they never could understand, is that your silence wasn't surrender. It was strategy. It was sacred. While they were busy plotting your downfall, you were being fortified by the hand of God. You weren't losing. You were being armed with divine wisdom, layer by layer, pain by pain. And now the weight of that wisdom is something they can no longer deny. You fought battles most people couldn't survive, and you fought them with invisible armor. While others looked for validation in the world, you were being refined in the spirit. Your enemies didn't know that every time they threw dirt on your name, God was planting you deeper. They didn't realize their betrayal was setting the stage for your elevation, that their attacks were being recorded in the heavens. Because make no mistake, God saw everything. He saw the lies they told with smiling faces. He saw the manipulation behind the praise. He saw the moments you were excluded, mocked, dismissed, as if your light was something to be feared, something to be dimmed. And oh, how they tried to dim it. They tried to steal your essence, your confidence, your identity, but they failed miserably because they never understood that you weren't operating in human strength. You were walking with the backing of the divine. They touched what they should have never touched. They spoke against what they should have reverenced. Because when someone is chosen, they carry a seal, unseen by the world, but unmistakable in the spirit realm. That seal makes you a target, but it also makes you protected. So while you were being slandered in private rooms, heaven was preparing a public table for you. While you were crying in secret, angels were encamping around you. Every weapon formed against you, they saw it. Every hidden hand, every disguised enemy, every snake in the grass, God saw it all, and He let it happen. Not because He abandoned you, but because He was training you. Yes, training you for greater, for glory, for the calling you didn't even know your soul signed up for. You've been through spiritual warfare on a level most can't comprehend. The sleepless nights, the heavy fog of confusion, the mental torment, the betrayals that felt like knives to the soul. But still, you kept your heart clean. You kept showing love even when your own heart was bleeding. You prayed for people who were secretly praying against you, and that is what set you apart. Because real power isn't in revenge, it's in restraint. Real power isn't in exposure, it's in elevation. And that's where you are now, being elevated, and not just externally, but internally. Your discernment is sharper, your spirit is lighter, your connection to the Most High is unshakable. That's the reward of the test, transformation. But here's what's truly shaking the atmosphere now. They know you're rising. They see it in your eyes, that calm, unbothered focus. They sense it in your energy, that holy fire. They feel it in your silence, that unspoken knowing that something has shifted and there's no going back. Your enemies are unsettled. The very ones who counted you out are now watching you with wide eyes and trembling hearts, not because of what you said, but because of what you didn't say. You didn't defend yourself. You didn't beg to be seen. You let the storm pass, and now you're walking out of it with divine power. You carry something now that they can't imitate. You carry presence. You carry purity. You carry prophetic clarity. And no matter how hard they try, they can't mimic that. You didn't get this from trends, from platforms, from popularity. You got this through consecration, through isolation, through being crushed until only the purest oil remained. And now they're terrified, not because you're seeking vengeance, but because your very existence is exposing what they tried to hide. You're walking evidence that God's justice is real. You're living proof that elevation doesn't come from man, it comes from the throne room of heaven. You see, they were comfortable when you were quiet, when you were second-guessing yourself, when you were shrinking your light to fit their expectations. But that version of you is gone, and now your glow is undeniable, not flashy, not prideful, just divinely undeniable. There's a prophetic power in how you walk now, a steady confidence that says, I've been through too much to let anything or anyone take me off course. And the spiritual realm knows it. That's why you're feeling the shift. That's why strange energies have been surfacing, people reaching out from the past, old situations trying to reattach, because your light is magnetic. But now your discernment is divine. You no longer give access to what dishonored your soul. The truth is, your spirit has grown too large for small rooms. Your wisdom has outgrown surface conversations. Your energy is no longer for sale. And that terrifies them, because they built their comfort on your confusion. They thrived when you were doubting yourself. But now, the game has changed. You're no longer reacting. You're responding with wisdom. You're no longer explaining. You're embodying truth. You're no longer chasing validation. You're attracting purpose. And in this posture of spiritual authority, your very presence shakes things. Don't be surprised when they start watching in silence. Don't be shaken when their smiles feel strained. Some will pretend they've always supported you. Others will avoid you entirely. That's because your breakthrough isn't just about your success. It's about their exposure. Your rise is the revelation. It's proof that grace wins, that integrity matters, that favor is real. But this isn't about proving them wrong. This is about proving God right. He saw the warrior in you before you saw it in yourself. He allowed the pressure so you'd discover your power. And now you wear that power like a crown, invisible to many, blinding to those who tried to curse you, beautiful to those who recognize your journey. So walk boldly now. You're not who you used to be. You've passed the test, and the fear you now see in their eyes, it's not about who you are, it's about what heaven just released through you. You need to hear this with your spirit, not just your ears. God is not mocked. He saw it all, the whispered betrayals, the fake smiles, the traps set behind closed doors, the way they tried to turn others against you, the attempts to silence your voice, to break your spirit, to delay your destiny. He saw it when you were left bleeding with no one to call, when they turned their backs while smiling in your face, when you were brought to your knees, not by the world, but by the weight of spiritual warfare they tried to cloak as coincidence. But God never blinked. He never forgot. He never stopped keeping record. And now the books are being opened. This is the season of divine reversal. The season when what was done in darkness is being dragged into the light. The lies, the manipulation, the injustice. It's all about to be revealed, not because you asked for revenge, but because God has decided that the time has come. This isn't about punishment. This is about balance. This is about justice. And when divine justice moves, it moves with unstoppable force. You, chosen one, have endured what most couldn't bear, and you bore it with grace. You held your head high when it would have been easier to let bitterness win. You chose healing instead of hate. You chose silence instead of slander. You chose faith instead of fear. That choice was your victory. And now it's your time to witness what happens when the Most High rewards loyalty. He's about to make you the example. Not to inflate your ego, but to validate your obedience. Not to shame your enemies, but to elevate your purpose. This is what they never expected, that the very thing meant to destroy you would become your platform, that your scars would speak louder than their rumors, that your survival would shine brighter than their sabotage. Some of them thought you'd never get back up. Others hoped you'd disappear altogether. But here you are, breathing proof that favor doesn't play fair, that what's divinely appointed cannot be blocked. They tried to delay you, but delay is not denial. And now acceleration is on your life, the kind of acceleration that doesn't make sense to those who counted you out. And yes, they're watching, quietly, anxiously, confused about how you've risen, how you're glowing with no explanation, how doors are opening for you with no human connection. But the truth is, this isn't man's doing. This is heaven's reward, the kind that only comes after the wilderness, the kind that only arrives when the test has been passed. You are walking in prophetic justice now, the kind of justice that exposes the hidden hands and exalts the hidden hearts. God is preparing tables for you, yes, but not in silence. He's doing it in front of those who tried to cancel you, in front of those who said you were too much, in front of those who mocked your process, unaware they were laughing at the preparation of a prophet. This is your moment of divine reversal, where the last becomes first, where the weeping turns to dancing, where the ashes are exchanged for beauty and the mourning for joy. And I know you're still healing. There are still nights you wrestle with the shadows of your past, still moments when the betrayal creeps into your memory like a ghost. But listen closely. Healing doesn't mean forgetting. Healing means you no longer carry the wound like a weapon. It means you carry it like wisdom. And that wisdom, it's what's guiding you now. It's why you're not repeating old patterns. It's why you're attracting different energy. It's why you can finally look in the mirror and see a warrior staring back, tender but fierce, broken once but never again. You've crossed a threshold in the spirit, and that means you're not just stepping into a new season, you're stepping into a new dimension. The level of authority you're walking in now isn't just personal, it's generational. Your healing is unlocking freedom for your bloodline. Your awakening is shaking chains that were wrapped around your ancestors. Your yes to God has become a weapon against ancient darkness. You carry weight now, not the weight of burden, but the weight of legacy. And to those who hurt you, who tried to silence you, who took your kindness for weakness, your rise is a mystery. But to you, to your soul, it makes perfect sense, because you were forged in the fire. And fire doesn't destroy gold, it refines it. And that's what you are now, pure, refined, ready. So let this be your confirmation. The season of suffering is over. The waiting, the wondering, the confusion, it's been replaced. Now comes clarity. Now comes alignment. Now comes overflow. Not just in material things, but in peace, in power, in purpose. And with it comes a new posture. You no longer chase. You attract what is divinely aligned. You no longer beg. You walk in bold expectation. You no longer dim. You radiate with unapologetic presence, because you are no longer hoping for justice. You are the justice. You are the evidence that light always wins. So rise, chosen one. Walk tall. Speak with authority. Move with precision. Trust the unfolding. Everything that once broke you is now beneath your feet, and every fear that once haunted you has been replaced by unshakable knowing. God did not bring you this far to leave you. He brought you this far to announce you, to crown you, to reveal you, and to show the world what happens when someone refuses to quit, when someone trusts the divine process even when it hurts. This is your call to action, not to fight back in the flesh, but to rise in the spirit. Keep your hands clean. Keep your heart open. Keep your eyes fixed on heaven, because what's coming next is bigger than you imagined. And this time, no one will be able to say it was luck. No one will be able to say it was handed to you. They'll know. Deep down, even if they never say it aloud, they'll know that was God. And God was with you all along. It's time we go deeper now. Deeper than the surface level betrayals. Deeper than the heartbreak. Deeper than the drama. You've passed the test. That part is sealed. But now you're being invited into understanding. Because it wasn't just random. the attacks, the rejection, the strange resistance you faced, it wasn't without purpose. And no, it wasn't your fault, but it was part of your sacred initiation. You came into this world with a light coded into your soul. You carry a frequency that's disruptive to illusions. You were born with truth written in your bones. That's why, from early on, you confused people. They didn't know why your presence made them feel exposed, why your very being made them feel seen. The truth is, your light agitated their shadows, not because you were trying to, but because when something holy walks into a room, it stirs whatever is unhealed. The hostility you've received in life wasn't always about you. It was about what you represent. You carry a divine mirror. Some saw themselves in it and began to heal. Others saw themselves in it and began to hate. You didn't ask for this assignment, but you accepted it long before you ever had language for it. Your soul knew. Before the betrayal, before the childhood pain, before the silent nights, you knew you would be sent here to remember who you are and wake up others by your presence alone. And that sacred assignment came with resistance. Spiritual resistance, emotional resistance. Because when you're here to break generational chains, those chains will fight back. When you're sent to carry ancient wisdom into a modern world, that wisdom must be tested by fire before it can be trusted. So if you ever wondered why your path seemed harder, why your relationships seemed more intense, why your spirit always felt a little different from others, it's because you're not here to repeat. You're here to rewrite. And when you're chosen to rewrite the script, everything old tries to cling to you. But listen, chosen one, what tried to cling to you couldn't conquer you. The trauma was deep, but not deeper than your calling. The betrayal cut sharp, but not sharper than your discernment. The confusion tried to blind you, but it couldn't blind your inner compass. This is the paradox of the divine path, that you must walk through darkness to become a vessel of light. That the most spiritually advanced souls are often born into the most painful beginnings, not because they are cursed, but because they are calibrated to overcome, to remember, to rise. And you have. You've risen, quietly, steadily, unmistakably. But let's not sanitize the journey. You were broken open, you doubted yourself, you questioned your sanity, you questioned God, you begged for answers in the night and got only silence. You gave love to people who misused it. You made yourself small for people who still couldn't handle you. And for a while it made you believe something was wrong with you. But now you know something was right with you. You weren't broken, you were awakening. You weren't too much. You were the reflection of what they had lost in themselves. You weren't a mistake. You were a message wrapped in flesh. And the world is only now beginning to catch up to what your soul already knew. The pain made you precise. The rejection gave you radar. The confusion taught you clarity. Every dark night rewrote your DNA with spiritual grit. And that's why no storm can shake you now. You don't just believe in God, you've met God in the wilderness. You've seen the divine show up when everyone else walked away. But here's what you need to understand now. The ones who hurt you weren't always evil. Some were simply lost. Some were projecting their unhealed pain. Some were unconsciously reacting to the light inside of you that reminded them of who they could have been if they had made different choices. That doesn't make what they did right, but it helps you see it with higher eyes. This isn't about justifying their actions. It's about freeing your spirit. Because part of your soul's mission is to break the cycle of retaliation, to interrupt the karmic loop that says, hurt me and I'll hurt you. No, you've been called to something higher, not passivity, but divine power, the kind that walks away without needing to make noise, the kind that forgives without forgetting, because you now use memory as wisdom, not as a weapon. You see, your mission was never about being liked. It was about being light. And light disturbs darkness. It shifts the air. It awakens dormant spirits. It rattles cages built by ego and illusion. And not everyone is ready for that. So let them talk. Let them question. Let them gossip. Let them throw stones. Because what they don't realize is the more they talk, the more they expose themselves. You don't have to defend yourself anymore. That season is done. Your truth walks ahead of you now like a pillar of fire. Your energy speaks louder than your voice. Your fruit, your peace, your saza, your wisdom, your presence speaks for itself. And here's the most important piece. You were meant to be different. You were meant to feel out of place in this world, because you were never meant to fit into its broken systems. You were meant to walk alone at times, because prophets are formed in isolation. You were meant to question everything, because your soul remembers something deeper, something real, something eternal. You came here to fulfill a contract, a divine agreement that your spirit signed before you ever took a breath. That agreement said, I will walk through fire to remember who I am. I will walk through pain to awaken others. I will be the one who breaks the cycle, who transforms the bloodline, who anchors the light in a world full of shadows. And you've kept your promise. Even when it almost broke you, even when you didn't understand why, even when it cost you everything. But now it's time to walk in the reward, not as someone who's above others, but as someone who understands now why the road was so hard, why the love you gave felt like it disappeared into black holes, why your kindness was mistaken for weakness, why your wisdom was ignored, until now. Because now, people are waking up. They're seeing what they refused to see. They're realizing what they threw away. They're beginning to feel what you've always carried. And while you don't need their apology, heaven has already written your restoration. And restoration isn't about going back. It's about going forward with authority, with clarity, and with divine vision. This is the life you were born to live, not without battles, but fully aware that every battle was rigged in your favor, that every dark season was coded with sacred transformation, that every tear you cried watered the roots of your unshakable purpose. You didn't come here to be ordinary. You didn't come here to be liked. You didn't even come here to be understood. You came here to remember, and now you do. You've made it through the fire, through the silence, through the loneliness, through the betrayal, through the aching questions that no one around you could answer. You've made it through the part of the journey designed to strip you, to hollow you out, to purify you until only the truth remained. And now, look at you. You're not just surviving anymore. You're standing in your sacred knowing. You're not searching for identity in others. You've found your identity in the divine. You're not begging for clarity. You are the clarity. You, chosen one, have come full circle. You've passed the test that was never written in words. A test of your integrity, a test of your heart, a test of your obedience when nothing made sense. And heaven is smiling, not because you did everything perfectly, but because you did it faithfully. Do you understand how rare that is? In a world obsessed with appearance, you kept your soul clean. In a world that rewards manipulation, you chose alignment. In a world that celebrates ego, you chose humility. And now the spiritual inheritance is yours. It's not coming, it's here, not just in what's around you, but in what's within you. There's a peace now that you didn't have before, not because life is perfect, but because you are finally walking in your truth. There's a confidence in you now, not arrogant, but sacred, not the kind that needs applause, but the kind that rests in divine knowing. And this is your reassurance. The worst is behind you. It will not always be this hard. You will not always feel tested. You will not always have to walk alone. Because now you are stepping into the season of fulfillment. Yes, fulfillment. That means answered prayers. That means divine connections. That means protection you can't explain. That means opportunities that locate you, not because you chased them, but because you became who you were always meant to be. Let this be your peace. You don't have to fight for what is already yours. You don't have to beg for what your soul was born to carry. You don't have to hustle for what the divine has already ordained. It's yours, sealed, written, witnessed by heaven. And now it's unfolding in real time. So take a breath. You don't have to keep proving your worth. Your existence is the evidence. You don't have to keep defending your name. Your presence is your answer. You don't have to keep trying to make them understand. They weren't supposed to, because your calling was never a conference. It was a covenant between you and the Most High, between you and your ancestors, between you and the mission you were born to fulfill. You are the living proof that purpose will find a way, that even when life tries to bury you, the divine seed in you cannot die, that even if the whole world walks away, God still walks beside you, and sometimes that's the only presence you ever needed. So now walk in it, walk in your power, walk in your wisdom, walk in your knowing. Let your energy speak before your words ever do. Let your peace confuse the ones who once tried to disturb you. Let your joy be a quiet rebellion against every dark force that tried to keep you down. Because here's the deeper truth. When you rise, you don't just rise for yourself. You rise for everyone who has ever been silenced, broken, misused, forgotten. You rise for your ancestors, whose prayers are wrapped around your DNA. You rise for the children yet to come who will walk freer because you chose to break the chains now. You are not alone. You were never alone. You may have felt abandoned, but you were being hidden. You may have felt rejected, but you were being redirected. You may have felt forgotten, but you were being remembered in the spiritual realm by forces far greater than you ever knew. And now that the veil has lifted, now that your eyes have cleared, you see the truth. That everything was working. Every detour, every tear, every silent night. It was all preparing you for this moment. So hear me when I say your enemies didn't win. The pain didn't break you. The delay didn't stop you. You have passed the divine test. And now your reward is not just restoration, it is revelation. A new version of you has emerged. Not the naive one, not the one who needed outside approval, but the holy warrior, the sacred one, the prophet in the wilderness who has now returned to lead. So don't look back. There's nothing for you in the ashes. What was burned was meant to be burned. What was lost was never meant to go with you. What fell apart was making space for something far greater. You are whole now. You are light now. You are aligned now. And from this moment forward, you no longer walk as the wounded. You walk as the witness. A witness to God's faithfulness. A witness to divine justice. A witness to the truth that the chosen never fall without rising again in double portion. So rise, beautiful soul. Rise with purpose, rise with gentleness, rise with the voice of spirit flowing through your lips. And when the old voices try to come back, shame, guilt, fear, silence them not with anger but with truth. Speak this truth to yourself every day. I am chosen, I am protected, I am aligned, I am enough. Because you are. More than enough. More than what they said. More than what you feared. You are the one heaven whispered about long before you ever woke up to your calling. And now, the world will see what only God always knew. Your light is unstoppable. Your soul is eternal. Your destiny is written. So go and live it. Go and shine. Go and be the walking miracle that you are. You passed the test. And now the heavens rejoice, the earth aligns, and your enemies tremble. Because the chosen one has awakened, and nothing will ever be the same.